The political leadership seems to just engage in propaganda and about revenue generation, not wealth creation. As it is now, we have the highest amount of homelessness. We have increased poverty from 38 to 54% within 2 years. Yet they come up with this propaganda. Our currency fell from about $400, $500 to now 1,400. But our incomes did not increase. So what has happened is that more or less we have been enslaved. What you were paid, our wealth, our salaries, our income has been halved. Now the problem is this: why is it they always talk about subsidy removals and devaluations? Because this is what we have been facing since 1978. And the problem is this: is that the international community more or less have pushed these neoliberal economic policies, which in real sense has not uplifted us, but put us into poverty. I tell people that the two most important things that we need to do, and I keep on repeating it, is to build at least 10,000 homes every day and 10 kilometers of railway every day. Now, the government this year only allocated 20,000 houses. They only budgeted for 20,000 houses, whereas our population increases about 5 to 6 million every year. But they just budgeted for 20,000 houses. So, of course, we're going to be moving more into poverty. And when I tell some people, they say, but do we have all the equipment? I said, look, even the fact of allocating land to these people already increases the income before you start building on it. So if you need to improve the lot of people, because houses is the number one source of wealth. It's the driver of the consumer market. So the more people that have houses or land, then the higher our income. But when less than a certain percentage, an acceptable percentage, are landowners or have their homes, then our consumer market definitely is going to suffer. On the other side of the production market is that we should build at least 10 to 15 kilometers every day towards having at least a station in every local government. The 774 local governments should have a railway station in it. And then you will see our production sector increase, because it is the largest conglomeration of steel, chemicals, plastics, and once you build that, those who are supplying that could also now build some other things, even engines, because it's the biggest engine, then you now make it into the smallest. For plastics, the glass, the chairs, the rail, all these have multiply effects. But what we have is that, oh, let's just give this person a contract and just have this standalone projects, which at the end of the day does not have that solid base, which is what the West did. They first had railways before even having cars. So, and now, when you have cars that can't even go to these farms, what we now have is, even by developing our agriculture, 40% of our agricultural output goes to waste. Whereas if we had railways in every local government, you know that they will have haulage, they will have freezing, they will have all things that will totally reduce wastage. Well, we rather now have these cars, these luxurious cars, that the government buying 165 million worth of cars to people. That is not what we need. We need a mass transit. Then they now say they want to put in 5% fuel tax. Why? When petrol and fuel is 90% of our energy, that supplies our production. We only have cars. So when you are taxing our only source of energy and our only source of transportation, you are being anti-productive. In other countries where they put all these kind of taxes, they have railways, they have buses, metro lines, So you do not need to have a car. You don't need to have a car in London. You don't need to have a car in Canada, because the government has provided the infrastructure. But you cannot say, and this was the greatest problem. You have, according to National Bureau of Statistics, you have 11.8 million cars. Out of those 11.8 million cars, about 6.8 million are commercial vehicles. But the government painted removing subsidies as a consumption thing or saving, no, it is business. And that is just cars. We're not talking of the Marwell, we're not talking of the Okadas, we're not talking of the people who use their cars after work to transport. Now, they destroyed all that. And that's why the economy. So when you say, no, we are sacrificing for what? Let them say which sector the removal of subsidies is going to help. Because some say, okay, it was to save money for infrastructure. Well, if you save this amount of money, then why are we borrowing an extra 100 trillion within 2 years? And this is a big problem there. Because the voters, the electorate, don't really know what is production, what will uplift them when politicians come with these fancy projects that have really no meaning or no linkage. Because there is one thing like that, any project that you do has to have multiplier effects along the economy. So when you just build one thing and it's just there in one forest or one place without any linkages, it's going to collapse at the end of the day. And that's what happened in the 70s and 80s when we had all these small things, but they were not related. We did not produce our own iron, we could not produce our own chemicals. And for you to do that, you have to have that large enough scale to make them productive, to make the unit cost to come down. So we need to come to a point where we tell our politicians, we want the core of your consumption is housing. How many houses are you going to build? The core of production is railway. How many railways are you going to build a day? We need to know per day, and that's the only reason how we can uplift ourselves.